So we've already talked a bit about IME today, so I wanted to take it a little bit more from a development perspective and highlight some of the R&D areas we're focusing on. Alex already talked about this at a high level, as well as James, in terms of what we're doing right now for IME, and I'm going to focus a little bit more on what our futures are. So as we look at the software stack today on the left, we're focused purely on a burst buffer. We have a distributed hash table for our metadata and a log structured file system for our bulk data. But we're looking at where we can take that. So we want to look at extending that beyond a file cache into additional data services, and extending our elastic data plane as well for providing additional services in terms of comprehensive recovery, expansion, and contraction of data as well. We additionally want to look at a fully featured control plane that provides appropriate monitoring and management in a more enterprise-focused way, and including quality of service objectives. So for 1.1, which we've talked about a little bit, James covered some of the features. We really focused on increasing the N+M erasure coding coverage at the application level, the addition of Ethernet and OPA support, as well as improved data resiliency, which I'll talk about a little bit. So starting with the 1.1, we can now lose an SSD and rebuild failure within a few minutes. But additionally, we can also have a server fail and have continuous operations with the IME cache. So that's what we'll be providing in 1.1 later this year. Going forward from there, we want to look at additional data plane services that allow us to have a comprehensive recovery that allows us to then be able to bring that server back online, as well as going forward be able to add additional services, contract or expand the total amount of the system by being able to reintroduce offline nodes or being able to add additional new nodes. So when we look at this, though, as we look at the file cache and what we're building, we're looking historically at file systems that have very traditional metadata store, which are tailored for IOPS, versus a bulk data store, which has really been focused on streaming large I/O reads. But we're also seeing applications that are including their metadata there. So we're getting a mixed use model on the data side. So as we look at our R&D, we need to consider how are we going to start to separate these and look at the types of activities, look at IOPS and separate that from data, so that we're optimizing both for the IOPS types of data that we need to, as well as the bulk data separately, and looking at this in, a data store repository model instead of a traditional file system model. So we're looking at doing future research in this area as well. And so as I continue to look down the road on the types of features we're considering, we also want to look at how we can continue to disaggregate the NVM. And this could take several different forms. This could be an on-prem form, could be a cloud form, it could be introducing NVM to the client. So we want to continue to look at how we can further virtualize this store. And then as we continue to build this, it's where can we take this? Where can we take this beyond a file cache to introduce additional I/O models? We haven't defined those yet, but they could come from a variety of backgrounds. We could be looking at block, we could be looking at object, we could be looking at KV store. But how do we take advantage of this base format that we've built with the distributed hash file and the log file system in a native NVM format to be able to continue to expand our capabilities? As I mentioned before, also we'll be looking at control plane, so building an HPI so that we can then build additional management and monitoring methods in an enterprise focused around quality of service objectives. For example, saying within my storage, I want to allocate this much storage at this quality of service for this set of jobs. And then the elastic data plane I mentioned earlier in terms of expansion and contraction. Now for 1.1 on the control plane side, we're going to be having, as you'll see in the booth right now, we'll be having more of the traditional open source based management and monitoring tools via Grafana and Nagios, but looking more towards an enterprise model in the future where we're custom developing these items to support the quality of service needs we need in the future. And you can also see in the disaggregated NVM in the bottom, continuing that comprehensive recovery model. So we have an always-on data model that is able to expand or contract, bring nodes on and offline without a disruption to the file service. So as we're looking at this project and we're looking at the looking at I/O systems and what we want to do with our R&D, we really need to be looking at how we need to rewrite the data paths, how data is changing from application to media. And they're continuing to evolve, so we're continuing to see, and James opened with this, the different types of I/O profiles we're seeing are continuing to evolve for the types of applications. And we need to look at how we address this IOP intensive in a way that's different than the traditional file system we've all used for so many years. So IME, as a development team, we're going to continue to take advantage of these scale-out address spaces, look for new options for data stores where we can potentially continue this, and focus on the scale and resilience and performance that we can get from the model that we've built.